Hey everyone, it's Sally Estlin again here on Magic Mike Moments. And today I am incredibly excited to sit down with Michele Scherr and talk all about with just what Mish has been up to and what she's into these days. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks, Sal. It is so good to see you.
It's been a while. Well, let me just briefly introduce you. You've come from a background of critical care nursing and working as a nurse in the Royal Australian Air Force for nearly 20 years. Wow, some stories there, hey? Serving overseas a number of times in conflict and as well as working in public hospitals here in Australia. So, as a stress biohacking specialist, and we'll get more into that in a minute, you now combine your knowledge and passion for health with epigenetic coaching. Oh, yes, to help others understand how they were biologically designed and how to help hack that design to lead a life that they want as an individual that they are. The people that you work with tend to be consistently looking for the diet that will fix their weight worries. Oh my God. Yes, I know those people. They're constantly stressed and exhausted. They might even already have some health issues or problems, but they're looking for that answer, right? So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for having me. This is I'm really excited to actually be here. I've been watching your series of Moments for ages and thinking, oh, I've got to reach out to Sal because I would really love to be on it. And then you reached out to me. So that was awesome.
Meant to be. So we met a few years ago as
Yeah.
Healing Angels. I think it was in,
Yes.
wasn't it? And we went through training together. And your background is so interesting. So let's start
Oh,
off and just
thank you.
about a little bit about your journey to where you are now and some of the challenges that you've had and overcome. I mean, being in the Air Force for 20 years, you would have seen a few things.
Yeah, and I guess the most challenging part of being in the Air Force for that a period of time was I was a single mum for most of that time. So when I joined Air Force, I was studying to be a registered nurse. I was at university, about to enter my third year, and my kids were 4 and 6 at that time. So the most challenging part for me was how do I how do I handle a family as well as such a full-on it's a calling. I think the Defence Force needs to be a calling if you're really going to put into it.
Yeah,
And of course, healthcare is a calling.
yeah,
It's not just a career, you really do put a lot of yourself into it.
yeah.
So yeah.
And so you joined then, so when you had little kids, and so were you based in Australia? Like, where were you born? Where are you from?
Oh yeah. So I'm originally from North Queensland
Right.
and I grew up on the banks of the Burdekin River. My dad worked at the sugar refinery, the sugar mill there. And yeah, grew up in a very small town called Home Hill, which is just south of Townsville, if you know Queensland at all. It's about an hour and a half south of Townsville. And yeah, it was, it was a great childhood growing up. And, we had mango trees around, we could walk anywhere. It was those days when you didn't kind of lock your house. You just went out and left everything open. And, the kids would be out all day playing. And we would come home at night. Well, as evening approached, mum would go out the back door and yell our names. And and we'd either hear her or we wouldn't, depending on how
Yeah.
much we were involved in what we were doing.
We used to have triangles, right? And triangles, and they'd ring the triangle to come in,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, gather the kids back in because it was time to shower them. When you joined the Air Force, was that in Queensland or
Yeah, so I joined in Queensland. So I was studying at the time, and in my second year of study, my husband and I broke up.
yeah,
And so I was going through that second year, and I got to about halfway through the year, and um, the support for community childcare centres was taken away by the federal government.
right.
And my childcare fees doubled overnight. And I just went, I can either feed my children or I can get an education.
Yeah.
And so my parents helped me out for a while. My brother had been through the undergraduate sponsorship scheme, and so had a friend of mine, and they were both in Navy. But I kind of went, oh, looking at Navy, I don't want to have to be away for 6 months at a time on a ship.
Yeah.
And with Army, I knew that they exercised a lot, so I'd have to be going away a lot. And I looked at Air Force and kind of went, well, the planes go off and then they come back. I could, chances are I won't have to go very far. And that was 1997 that I was applying. So East Timor hadn't broken out at that point. So it was all very stable in our region.
Yeah.
And I was kind of looking at, yeah, look, I'll get the sponsorship. I'll do the time that I need to do. It's called a return of service obligation. That was going to be 2 years. So I'd do that. And then I'd get out and I'd go civilian. Only thing was, once I got in, I loved it so much I didn't get out, and it was easier to stay than it was to get out. Um, yeah, discharging just seemed like this huge big thing to me, and I just went, you know what, I'm just going to stay. And life works out the way it's meant to work out, doesn't it? So yeah, it was. So I joined as an undergraduate. I did 12 months while I was studying, and then I did 2 years working in public hospitals to consolidate skills before I started paying back my time. And by that stage, I was posted to Richmond, west of Sydney,
Right.
and that's where it all kind of started.
Wow. Wow. And so you're juggling a career and study and young family. Like that's full on. You're a pretty tough chick.
It, do you know, something that came to my attention recently, and I've had people saying it kind of over the years, but I've never really taken a lot of notice, was I don't tend to put out there, oh, I've got these accomplishments,
Yeah.
because to me, it's like, it just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
The things that I did that I felt I needed to do at the time,
Yeah.
so I've done them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people, like yourself just then went, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look back now with what I know of myself now that I've done epigenetics and all of that sort of thing, and I go, wow, it was actually too much. I made myself sick
Yeah. Yeah.
by doing everything that I thought I should. Those societal expectations, and I certainly grew up with, and I'm assuming that you're very much the same with. You can have it all. You can be a mum. You can have a career. You can have it all. But what they didn't say was there's little asterisks at the end of it, not at the same time. Terms and conditions, not at the same time. So yeah, I thought I could have it all at the same time.
It's look, I only work with strong, capable women and and men as well. But you just do what you have to do, like you said. But
Yeah.
the the pressure these days is to be seen to be perfect, that you can do it all, that you can have
Yes.
the perfect kids that are, always looking immaculate. And it the pressure is ridiculous because it's like who you're trying to prove it to. It's just to the Jones,
I know.
like not for yourself. And
I know.
I see it all the time, this imploding, this overwhelm, and then resentment, and then these unhappy lives and the behaviors that, relate to
Yes.
in these stuff.
Oh
So,
my gosh, Sal, you've hit the nail on the head. And one of the things that I say to people is we have a primitively designed body
yeah,
trying to live in a technologically advanced world.
I love
There's
that.
such a mismatch, like it just doesn't match. And we've really got to look at what are our values? How are we living our values?
Yeah,
Because we're making ourselves sick
yeah.
by trying to keep up.
Yeah. When do you think, talk about your sort of journey of illness
Mm,
till your waking up time? I mean, it was
mm,
just piling on, doing too much. And then
mm.
did that evolve into illness or unhappiness in your life?
Yeah, and I think so. We've just had a weekend of like-minded individuals, all the epigenetic coaches. We've just had a weekend of workshopping, and it was, you know, realizing that I so it took me quite a while to realize essentially the messages I was being sent. So whether from the universe, from spirit, from God, from whoever.
Yeah, yeah,
So I got hit by a car in December 2007 on a mission in Germany. I was on a pedestrian crossing and got wiped out by by a car. And
yeah.
first of all, I developed an autoimmune disorder. I came back from that to work because that really freaked me out of like, how am I going to provide for my sons? And I have to get back to work. I have to get back to work. And I push myself to get back to work.
Yeah.
I get back to work. I go overseas on a mission. I get hit by a car. And then I'm like, okay. And at the time, they said to me, after they'd done surgery on my leg and that sort of thing, they were like, you're never going to walk properly again. And I'm like, who says? And so I bought myself a treadmill and I'm teaching myself to walk. And I did my first 10K race, which hurt every single step, but I did it. And then it was like, okay, she's still not getting the message. So she's come back from that. She's still not getting the message. 2009, I went to Afghanistan for a deployment, and I came back from that. I started having post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms while I was there, and I came back from that, and it just got worse from there. And it still took me, still took me 6 years to go, okay, you win. I'm going to leave that life behind. You, whoever you is, you win. I'm going to leave that life behind. But then that left me really at what I call the bottom of my well
Yeah.
of I didn't know who I was. I had these personas that I'd developed so that I could get through life.
Yeah.
I'd developed these personas as a military officer. I'd developed these personas as an emergency nurse, as a critical care nurse. And now I couldn't do any of it. And I was totally lost and totally at the bottom of the well going, I don't think I have any value as a human. If I can't provide the way that if I can't care for others the way that I've been caring for others, if I can't do those things that really count, like I felt I'd been doing in Air Force, what value was I? And so my journey has now been a journey from right at the bottom of the well to where I am now. So, and it's certainly not been a straight line.
It's up and down, right? But that's the waves of life, right?
That's the waves of life. So yeah, exactly. So did that answer your question?
Absolutely. So
Oh,
you've gone from being so strong and so strong on the outside, but now you've found that strength on the inside where it's not all the physical stuff. You're working on the much deeper level and the emotions and spiritual.
oh, absolutely. Something was pointed out to me when so when we came out of lockdown and that sort of thing in Canberra. So I'd recently moved to Canberra when, the world went into a spin and everyone was locked down and all that sort of thing. And then as we were coming out of it in Canberra, I started to meet people, and I met someone, or someone that we both know, Jackie, and another lady, Mel, and we were having a conversation, and Jackie started talking to me about masculine energy and female energy. And that was the first time I'd actually heard about that
Oh,
sort of thing.
oh,
And the more I reflect on it, the more I realized, I was very much
in the
in the
divine.
masculine energy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
divine.
I think so many single mums are, because they're trying to be the male, the female, the provider, they're trying to be all everything.
Yeah.
To be in the masculine energy is about doing,
Mm.
whereas the female energy is about being.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's been a big lesson for me, is about the being.
So this sort of awakening probably started what, about 2016, for maybe 8 years ago.
2017, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so 7 years ago. So
Mm.
talk about your journey now to where you are doing stress biohacking and
Yeah.
all the good stuff that you've stepped into once you
Ah,
had this light bulb of I don't need to be so strong here, but not so much in the divine masculine, like you were saying, but balancing with the divine feminine and being more rather than doing, and allowing yourself to just resonate in being yourself.
yeah. So I went through a number of cycles of how can I contribute to the world? How
Right.
can I validate that I have value?
Yeah.
And so I started off with a multi-level marketing company because of the personal development. And I knew it would get me out and about talking to people and start to make me feel better. And from there, as I said, we moved to Canberra, and I was kind of like, oh, how can I help people? And so I kind of went into mentoring, into self-confidence mentoring, and that evolved into Bling Angel and learning a lot about people. And I had spent so many years dealing with people's health problems
Mm.
not necessarily looking at the problem, not looking at preventative, not looking at future, just looking at the problem.
Yeah.
And Bling Angels helped me to go, so we can influence our future. I knew that what we did today influenced the future, but I didn't know deep in my soul about it. I kind of knew about it from a health perspective, the things you eat today, the things,
Yeah, of
you
course.
exercise, things you expose your body to. I knew that it had an influence on your tomorrows. But with Bling Angels, I started to learn a little bit more. And then through networking, I came across this lady who introduced me to epigenetics
Mm-hmm.
and epigenetic coaching, which has been around for, 15, maybe even 20 years. It's been around quite a long time.
Yeah.
But as with anything in the health field, it takes a long time to come to being or to getting known,
Well, to be
really.
accepted as well, without
Yeah.
woo-woo. I know because back in the 90s, I studied naturopathy and homeopathy at the time was too out there.
Oh, yes.
Reiki was too out there. And now look,
Yes.
very much the norm. Physio was okay. Chiropractor was maybe
Mm.
naturopathy just, but homeopathy not too far. The
Yeah.
distance. And it's the same thing because we started studying epigenetics back then, and
Yeah.
that was so far-fetched of a reality. So yeah, talk
Yeah.
about what you're doing with it now.
So I think
What it's all
just,
about, if you want to share
yeah,
about.
that's what I was going to say. I think we might start with what is epigenetics? It sounds like a really complicated word, right? But it's not. And so there's two concepts. One is that when you were born, or sorry, when you were created, so going right back to the womb,
Yeah,
when you were created, there was a joining of sperm and egg, and there was a release of energy.
yeah,
Where that energy went was to one or two of three layers of the what becomes a fetus.
yeah,
And from there, we can do body measurements. So I don't have to do anything intrusive or anything, I don't have to take bloods, I don't have to take swabs or anything like that. I can measure someone's human, like their skeleton, their how their head's grown, how their jaw has grown, how their neck, their forearm, their wrists, their hands, all of that sort of thing. And there's a number of ratios that have been developed throughout time. So we use at least 15 different specialties, science and medical specialties.
mhm,
And we do a measurement of the body and we go, okay, this is how you were biologically designed. So when that sperm met the egg and the energy was released, these are the layers of the body that the energy went to.
yeah,
So you may have heard terms like a mesomorph or an endomorph or a ectomorph.
yeah.
So there's those three, and then you have the overlaps
Mhm.
of endoectomorph and mesoectomorph and endoectomorph. Mesoendo. I'm getting all confused. So you've got six, basically six, combination of six. In the framework that I use, we give them a particular name. But we know if someone falls into those categories, we
Yeah,
know by their measurements what category they fall into.
yeah,
We know they're going to have particular tendencies.
right.
So, for instance, if someone is a pure mesomorph, so with a mesomorph, we know that the majority of the energy has gone into the middle layers. So that tends to be the muscle,
Oh,
the it's about the sex hormones. And for them it's very much about testosterone and sex, the sex hormone drive. So it's about competition, and they know that they're quite a physical being. So
mm,
their bodies have to move. So
mm,
if you know anyone who's a bit of a energizer bunny,
huh?
they have ants in their pants, they've got to be moving all the time, they're
Yes.
likely to be a mesomorph.
Yeah.
So we also know that with this type of body, there are particular weaknesses,
Yeah.
and we can identify those. We know, so every time we do a profile, each profile is individual to that person. So this is where it becomes personalized health.
Yeah.
So that profile is individualized to that person. So even though you and I might have the same, like we use a circle, so same number on the circle.
Yeah.
This is where the epigenetics comes in. So we may have been designed biologically the same, but everything we've been exposed to in our lives
Yeah.
has the potential to turn genes on, turn the expression on or off. So,
Mm.
like a light switch,
Yeah.
and in different combinations.
Mm.
So, even if we were the same number, because let's say for you and I grew up in North Queensland, you grew up in Victoria,
Yeah.
your family structure had a different effect on you. My family structure had an effect on me. The amount of sunlight I got versus the amount of sunlight you got. Everything around us,
Yeah.
as well as everything we put into our bodies,
Yeah.
has potential to change us.
Mm.
So what I do now is I look at, okay, this is how the body was designed. What you've got in front of me is what we're calling a phenotype. So that's how everything you've been exposed to
Yeah.
presents now.
Mhm.
And is there a problem? If
Mm.
there's no problems, don't fix it. If there's a problem, so someone who is, for instance, I can't find the right diet for me. I've done all these diets. I've done this diet, that diet,
Yeah.
every diet. But as soon as I come off, I put all the weight back on. Okay, let's look at how you should be eating. For some people, the ants in the pants type people, they need to eat 5 times a day to fuel themselves. They need to eat a lot of protein.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
people like myself, who I'm on totally the opposite side, I only need to eat twice a day and I need to eat a lot of vegetables
Yeah.
to help with my digestion because when I was designed, the energy went to the middle of my body, so the inner layers of my body and the outer layers of my body, the endo and ecto.
Yeah.
And so I have a relatively longer digestive system. And so I need to eat a lot more fiber. I need to eat a lot of vegetables to help the gut microbiome and all of that sort of thing. And all of this is through taking a tape measure and measuring various parts of my body.
Yeah. It's fascinating now, and it makes so much sense because everybody's body is different and it's working.
Absolutely.
And look, it's been proven with lots of studies of twins, identical twins that have been brought up in different environments, right? And so genetically they're identical, but socially they've been exposed to environments that are so different, and they've turned.
Absolutely.
So this is exactly the same thing. It's working with everybody's personal situation from their environment where they've grown up, the stuff that they've acquired, and
Yeah.
the toxins they've been exposed to. And
So even right from in the womb, what hormones were they exposed to through their mum? What
yeah,
noises were they exposed to in the womb? What lights were they exposed to when they were born? And I'm only picking little things
yeah,
here. There's so much more. And it can be as complicated or as easy as you like it to be. Um, Understanding it from a coach's perspective, yeah, understand the complexities of it. But from a client perspective, it might be as simple as you need to spend more time near calm water
yeah, yeah,
because there are negative ions. And you need to spend more time forest bathing, if you will, because of the negative ions. Your body needs that to help your nervous system
yeah.
to settle
Cool.
and to calm itself.
Yeah, I love this because it's not a diet. It's working and creating a lifestyle that works with your body type.
Yes.
And it's working with that. Like you say, if you've got an elongated digestion and then having more vegetables, push it through. And then with that, sped up sort of metabolism, whatever, you need to feel the body. So it's
That's
work.
right.
It is, I don't want to call it new age, but it's just modern ways of working with your body because
Well, it's the future, Sal.
yeah,
It's
it
the
is
future because,
now. It's the now. Yeah.
and having worked in the health system
Mm.
and as an emergency nurse, I know if you present to me with this set of symptoms, I'm going to give you this protocol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in the personalized health, you present to me with this set of symptoms,
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking at, where did this come from? How did it evolve?
Yeah.
how do we help reset, or where do we target the body to reset? So it takes in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, amongst embryology and also endocrinology and all sorts of specialties to go here. Let's look at the body as a whole. Let's look at that person as a whole and the environment that
Yeah.
they're in. So their psychological environment, their biological environment, their physiological environment. Let's look at the whole lot and go, okay, I need you to, I don't know, say for instance, one of the things because I've struggled with my weight, and I used to do HIIT sessions first up in the morning, get up at 5 o'clock, do a HIIT session. Yep, I'm primed for the day.
Yeah.
What I was doing was elevating my cortisol.
Yeah.
And for my body and my body type, it takes a long time for that cortisol
Yeah.
to dissipate.
You just
Uh,
keep it up there, right? You're just hammering it. It doesn't get a time to reset.
Absolutely. And while that's happening, I'm insulin resistant.
Yeah.
So I'm putting on weight.
Yep, there goes your middle, babe.
I know. And I've only, and through doing this study, I've kind of gone, oh my God, I was torturing my body. I was marathon training, and a body like mine, while it's built for endurance, it's not built for marathon running.
No, it's built for long walks on the beach.
That's right. That's exactly right. I love that. Um,
Is 100.
so
Sorry, go on.
yeah, so when I was marathon training, I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the, 3:30, 4:15 in the morning, going for long runs, half marathon runs before
Yeah, yeah.
breakfast and all of this sort of thing. The amount of stress, and this is where I kind of come in, the amount of stress I was putting my body under. So most people, when they think about stress, and I'm getting into, why I call myself a stress biohacking specialist.
Yeah.
Most people, when they talk about stress, they understand a physical stress,
Mm,
they understand a mental stress, but they don't understand, most don't take that understanding.
mm,
No, I won't say they don't understand, but they don't take that understanding to the level of how is it affecting my organs? How
yeah.
is it affecting how my body actually operates?
Yeah.
Some will go, oh, that's heightening my cortisol. So I know I'm getting a cortisol belly.
Yeah.
But most will stop there.
Mm,
And for us, we don't stop there, and I don't stop there.
mm,
So when I say stress biohacking, what I'm looking at is how we hack your biology
mm,
to get you to normal stress. We all need some stress in our lives. If we don't have stress in our lives, we'd be dead. So it's about what are the little tips we can use to shortcut so that your biology and your physiology is working the best it can
yeah.
to give you stress, is essentially normal stress, you stress. So
Yeah.
you've got the reserves that if you need to suddenly, surge, you can,
Yeah.
but then you'll come back. And that's one of the things I think that's really damaging today's, like, people today, is we surge and we stay there
Yeah. Yeah.
and we don't have enough recovery. For some people, that recovery is very short.
Yeah.
For some bodies, the recovery is very short. So those energizer bunnies that I was talking about, they don't need a lot of recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Typically, if their body's working well, they don't need a lot of recovery. My body, put it through stress, it needs time to recover. It needs a lot of time. And that was one of the mistakes I made when I was in the Defence Force.
Mm.
I never gave my body time to recover, or I wasn't in a position to give my body the time to recover that it needed.
And I think particularly for women in their 50s going through menopause or come through menopause,
Mm.
added stress on the body and mentally. I know through some of my clients as a PT, they hammer their bodies more because, oh my God, my metabolism is sluggish. But what they're doing is adding more stress onto the body.
Yes.
They should be resting more because there's so much extra stress, hormones
Yeah.
you're dealing with through menopause. But
Mm.
mentally, I think we need to recondition the world that, less is more in so many
Oh,
ways.
bless you. Absolutely.
And I know
Absolutely.
myself as a PT, it's mental health has been exercise, but also pulling back and honoring my body and honoring my energy, tapping in. It doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I should be pushing myself today. So many times clients would say, oh, I just didn't feel like it, but I'm here anyway. And I'd go, sometimes, people would ring up and say, look, I've got really bad cramps or whatever. And you go, look, rest your body. I get it.
Mm,
There's no point pushing yourself and putting extra stress on. So I
mm.
think the way now and moving forward is all around holistic health, looking at all the different aspects, but also becoming the detective of your own body, because every
Yes.
different. If you look at my bookcase here, it's full of diet books from the 90s. And it was the blood type and the, eat right for your body. And it was the liver cleansing. And it was this diet, that diet.
Yeah.
That was it. One size does not fit all. One thing the 90s brought us was this awareness of starting to understand your body. And we do have blood types that might relate to it, whatever. But now it's personalizing and tailoring our ways of eating,
Yeah.
and looking after our body in a holistic way, for sure.
Yeah. See, the blood types and that sort of thing, that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not enough.
It's bringing it all in together.
Yeah.
One.
So yeah, the blood types and you're starting to get into Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and whether you're a fire, whether you're water, that sort of thing, all has an effect on your body functioning
Yeah,
and how your body functions best. So one of the weaknesses in people that have a similar body to myself is thyroid,
yeah, right.
because we tend to be like, we're typically night owls
Yeah,
and we're living in a society that is an early bird society.
yeah, yeah,
So, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And, if you're going to be a CEO with 6 or 7 figure business, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you do this, you do this, you do this. For my body, that is toxic. And
yeah.
for people with similar bodies to me, that's absolutely toxic.
Mm.
So, knowing that I need a slower start doesn't mean that I don't do anything or that I don't get up.
Your
What it means,
productive hours are different. Yeah.
yeah, so what I do in those hours, how I gradually get into the day, it's kind of like the train that could, or that's the story, isn't it? The train that could, I think I can, I think I
Yeah.
can, I think I can. So it's that slow build and then I'm on fire.
Boom. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that it's a mindset change. Because
Yeah.
from all those years in the military, where you do get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you do go and exercise first and get that out of the way, now it's kind of okay. I'm going to take myself for a walk, but it'll be a nice easy walk because I want to get up and appreciate the day and all that sort of thing. But if I'm exercising for improvement, I
Mm.
do that in the afternoon
Yeah.
because that's when my body's warm.
Yeah.
That's when my body's had a chance to get the fire stoked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm less likely to hurt myself, and I'm more likely to get those gains that I'm after.
You know what? Since COVID did bring a lot of blessings for us, but working from home, and it does allow people to work with their styles, if you like.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
If you're a late riser, like you were saying, this new working way allows you to work with your body so that you're
Mm.
getting them being the most productive out of your
Mm.
days. And so you might be an early riser, or you may not be. You might be a night owl. And so working within those structures, if you like, I think this is
Yeah.
the way forward. Personalizing, well, becoming the detective and understanding your body at a
Mm.
cellular level and understanding
Yeah.
best for you. This is the perfect time for this, as people are
Yeah.
starting to be very much aware about preventing illness as well down the track. And
Yes.
now listen to your body so that you're not going to be reducing the stress on it. And as you say, you're a
Yeah.
stress biohacking specialist.
Yeah. So it's very much about getting to know your body, and it's so validating.
Mm,
The
mm.
number of people that I've talked to, and sometimes I feel like a bit of a fortune teller because I've measured them up and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to tell you about some generic tendencies of your body type.
Yeah,
And, I start telling them and they go, you've only just met me. How can you know that about me? And when we look at the profile, so I don't do all this crunching in my head. We have a program that we use that has all this information as the background, and it has more than 10,000 data points of comparison and all the algorithms and all of that sort of thing. And it's the program that gives me the profile.
Yeah.
And it's validating for people to go, oh my God, I've always felt like that, but I've never felt I could do it.
Yeah.
So whether it's exercise, whether it's social, so there's 6 areas that we look at in the program,
Yeah.
in the profile. Of course, we look at diet and we look at exercise. Of course, we do. And just as a side note, there is only one body type where if we're trying to look at health, that we go straight to diet and exercise. There's only one.
Mm.
For the others, it might be their social environment. It
Mm.
might be their living environment. It
Mm.
might be how they think. It might be what is their genius? Are they working in their genius?
Yeah.
So, to give you an example, for my body, if I'm trying to decrease stress, I need to make sure that my living environment is pleasant and comfortable to me. It might not be tidy to other people, but it's comfortable for me. For my health type, I'm looking for pleasure and comfort and luxury and that sort of thing. So it has to be comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Living in a house that's half put together and renovating and that sort of thing, that would have me at
Yeah.
the edge of my stress. Like, yeah, I can feel it. I'm pulling up my shoulders and like I can't do that.
Yeah.
But for another person, they can do that. For another person, not having a mission, not having something that they're working towards
Yeah.
will cause them so much mental stress that they'll end up with depression.
Mm.
They have to have a purpose. They have to have something that they can measure their progress. For another person, if they don't have positive social relationships, they're in a really bad place with their health. They need to have fun. They need to have light. And that's the basis of their health, is about their social relationships. For another body type, it's about being able to nurture. If the people that are important to them, or the animals or whatever that are important to them,
Mm.
are potentially not safe, their body will start to accumulate and hold on to energy. So
Yeah.
they'll start to put on weight. It doesn't matter how many calories are going in, they're going to put on weight. So this society of, cut your calories back, increase your exercise, that is not going to work for every person. It might work, every diet will work for a certain period of time, and then it won't.
Then the yo-yo, and that's the ups and downs.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think all of this, and I think just in life, it's about educating people to a mindset change and
Yeah.
understanding that this is building a relationship with yourself. You're falling in love with yourself all over again, and
Yes.
in your own tailored, personalized blueprint so that you
Yes.
work with yourself, because always the biggest obstacle in your own way is yourself, right? And so
Oh, every time.
yourself and being okay, you've got to step into that self-love and self-acceptance of like, this is me, this is the way that I'm made.
Yeah.
And how amazing is nature? Like, whoever invented us, God, universe, whatever it is, like, we're complicated beings, but we're not that complicated when you understand the structure behind it.
Mm.
Got to
Oh,
work
absolutely.
who I am. Like, fascinating stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, what do you think, why are people drawn to you to work with you specifically? What do you think is your superpower, the essence and the the essence of you, the magic of you, with everything that you've done? You've like, your career is like this. It's had so many different involvements, and it's all work in progress. But why
Yeah.
are people drawn specifically to you when they come to you?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I hope, and I'm going to tell you what I've been told.
Yeah. But what do you feel? Yeah.
What I hope is people see someone who cares.
Yeah.
It's because I care about them and I want the best for them. I'm their cheerleader. I'm in their corner. I'm helping them side by side.
Yeah.
What I've been told is that it's about trust. They trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. And but you And having known you for a few years now, you do really care and very passionate about what you're doing. You wholeheartedly believe in what you're doing. And so how can you not trust that? Because you're resonating out authenticity and it emanates out of you. So yeah, I would absolutely say that you do care and you do want the best for people and you are.
Thanks, Sal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. So then what do you think at the end of the day with everything we've been talking about, what is the biggest issue facing for people? Is it that lack of education? What gets in the way?
Oh gosh, I think it's not it's multifaceted.
Mm,
I think it's social expectations.
mm,
I think people are focusing on. I was watching this podcast, The Diary of the CEO, the other day. And I can't remember what season it was. And there's a few bits in it, but essentially the person being interviewed was saying that people focus on the wrong things. They focus on wealth, they focus on badges of achievement, and they focus on fame, where they need to be focusing on connection and health. And I was thinking, one part of me thought, yeah, it's easy for you to say. You used to be you used to run Google or one of those companies. So it's easy for you to say because you've built that money and you've got that there. But on the other hand, I think the social conditioning of achieving more, achieving more, achieving more, that's the society that we're in, is
yeah,
all about achievement. And like I was saying a little while back, I don't know that that's as big a deal as people make it.
well, it's
But
quality of life. Like,
yes.
you see the burned out corporates that are just, they get the runs on the board with the bottom end, but like, look at the toll.
And and what happens? What happens when they get sick and they fall off? And yes, they've got the money to then they have to pay for healthcare. What if they front loaded
Yeah, yeah,
and didn't cause that issue in the first place?
yeah.
So then you've got our corporates wouldn't be as advanced as they are, but do we really need it?
But they may well be because when you're sitting with less stress, that's where the magic happens. You get it
Yeah.
and you're trusting the energy within.
So a slower pace of life, and it comes back to what I said close to the beginning of we've got a primitively designed body living in a technologically advanced world, and there's quite a mismatch there. And so what we really need to do is find out, well, what's right for us. And if going fast is not right for us, okay, how can I still meet my values? How can I still meet my goals, but in a different way?
Yeah,
And I think that's the conundrum we're in, because as a society, we tend to see it as you have to work hard, you have to work long hours, you have to work high-powered jobs to
yeah,
get ahead.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, do you?
I think you've brought up a really valid topic is that we are going through this time of reset and
Mm,
adjustment of the way that we do things because this burnout it's the number one thing in the world and it's recognized globally. Stress and burnout is huge and
mm,
people are saying there's more to life and I think COVID started that sort of awareness and understanding
yeah,
and balancing and managing your time differently even from working at home options. But it's very valid that this is a time of this awakening and awareness and change. It is a time of change. So what are
absolutely.
your three top tips then to help people that are in this space where they're focusing on the wrong stuff?
Well, I think you have to become aware, right?
Yeah,
Awareness is the first step.
I don't know. Yeah,
So my first question would be or my first piece of advice is get to know your values.
yeah,
Know what is really important to you as the person you are.
yeah,
And then the next tip is get to know how those values play out in your life.
yeah,
So to use that as an example, someone might have family as their value. To one person, that might mean spending lots of valuable time with their family.
yeah,
For another person, that might mean putting a roof over their heads and making sure they have all the latest games and all of that sort of thing. So totally different.
Yeah.
So number one, get to know your values.
Yeah.
Number two, know how those values play out in your life, what behaviors support those values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And number three, prioritize your values and what's important to you.
Mm. It's so interesting you say that, because I run with Ali, who is a Bling Angel as well. And so
Yes.
we group, and yesterday we focused on values because they underpin all of our decision making. And
yes. Or they should.
Yes. Well, that's
for happiness and continuity, for that congruence, they should underpin. But how often do we make decisions that are someone else's values?
Yeah, often, and it's just like, trying to please or whatever the reasons. There's so many of them. But at the end of the day, are you going to respect yourself with the decisions you're making or not? So
yeah,
you could check in with that. So right, so overall, you've had such a journey, and you're in such a good sweet spot now, because I really do believe people are ready to understand that what I've been doing in the past isn't working for me now. And I particularly see that with women in menopause because of the added stress on their bodies, and basically the whole mental health part of putting on weight, and I'm slogging myself out in the gym and it's not working. Well, hello, this is why, right? Hello. And so it's reducing the stress and understanding where you can reduce the stress based on your individual blueprint. That's what you're all about. So over your journey, I have a little mantra: let go, step up, and be more. So where do you feel, what have you let go of over life, or where have you stepped, and where are you more of yourself? I mean, we've spoken about it, but how would you bring it all together?
So what did I let go? I let go the personas. I'm trying to sum it up. I let go, I guess, the personas that I felt I needed to be for other people so that I could step up for myself.
Yeah.
And sorry, what was the last piece?
Be more.
And be more, so I could be more of myself.
Yeah.
Because I needed to step up for me.
Yeah.
Instead of step up for my children, or step up for my unit, or step up for other people, my patients. I needed to step up for me.
Yeah. As we're going through this massive shift, it is about putting you first, and not in a bad way. It's the oxygen mask, right?
Yes.
So that you can be better equipped to look after others. And I think it's slowly starting to infiltrate into people's psyche that, I'm not good to anybody else when I'm worn out, I'm cranky, I'm this and that. And, life's too short. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And I think really nailed it, letting go of the personas of who you're expected to be. And
yes.
like we started off this conversation about being, pretty perfect. You're the perfect mother and the perfect worker, and, strong and capable, but then you got sick, and then the universe started yelling at you, and the body was like, and to get hit, that's pretty bad, right? That's a big one, right?
Yeah, that was a big wake up that I just totally ignored. And moving on, let's get me walking again, and let's do this and let's do that. Okay, I need to provide for my kids, and didn't take any notice of the message.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, what is the thing that gets you out of bed? What are you most passionate about? What sort of gives you that spark? Because you said before that you really care. So I don't know, what is the thing that drives you?
Oh, look, number one that drives me, and as self-centered as it is, it's living the best life for myself, my hubby, and my kids, my friends, living that best life for my inner circle, if you will.
And you have got a terrific husband, by the way.
Oh, I have the
He's a
best
top
husband.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And second to that is being able to serve others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether that's my clients, whether that's community, whether that's just going down the street and, helping somebody out, giving someone who's 5 cents short 10 cents or 5 cents, or, being able to help somebody else out is a pretty privileged position. And I enjoy that privilege.
Yeah. Well, you are an empowered empath. Now, you've also published a book. Do you want to share with us?
We have. I have. So thank you for mentioning it. This is my book. It's called Lighter, and I co-authored it with a lady out of Melbourne who's a psychologist, and she's done nutrition and all sorts of things. And initially, this was actually Karen's book, and she was writing it about weight loss, but she just felt that it was missing something. And she'd been through a program with me, and she felt that perhaps I had something to add. So she sent the manuscript over to me and said, "Look, have a read, see if you like the style, and if you'd like to join me and write some, and we'll have a talk about it." So I was reading through her manuscript and I was super excited. And I was like, oh, I can share this and I can share that. And so it evolved from being about weight loss. So it is our stories and with our weight and our acceptance of ourselves and our perception of ourselves. It has evolved from that to be about weight and be about identity and be about accepting of yourself, because something I alluded to earlier is even though I ran a marathon, I'm not built for marathon running. I'll never be a champion marathon runner because I'm not built that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can lift heavy because I'm built to lift. I'm not built to run. I'm built for stable. I'm built for longevity. I'm not built for short, powerful kind of muscle movement. Sorry, I'm not built for running and that sort of thing. So it's about accepting that I can diet, I can exercise, I can do all I like, but I am never going to look like a supermodel.
Yeah.
I am never going to be stick thin unless I'm anorexic, unless I'm really unwell. So for me to be the best that I can be, I need to accept myself. Karen tells a story in the book about when she's Singaporean by descent and living in Australia. And when she was in Singapore, she went to meet a friend. And I think at the time she was a size 10. So not a very big person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her friend said to her, I can't be seen with you. You're too fat.
Oh, fat shaming, I can't stand that. That's
And
just
I was just like, oh my God.
the issues
I
that
was
that other person have. Oh my gosh.
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked, because there wasn't much of her anyway.
Yeah. That's
And different cultural influences, obviously, and all of that sort of thing. So we really got into about accepting ourselves and how society has set us up at the moment, has set us up for, we went through that whole fat's bad, carbs are good, and now it's carbs are bad, fat's good, all of
yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you said before, there is no one size fits all.
Yeah.
Each individual body needs individual things.
Yeah.
So even if I was giving, say, for instance, I was saying to you, okay, well, we both need to eat more protein, for example. I might be eating it for a different reason than you're eating it.
Yeah.
So we have two of the body types that I deal with need to eat at least 5 or 6 times a day,
Yeah.
but for different reasons. One is for energy generation, because if they don't eat and eat high protein, their muscles start to break down.
Mm.
For the other, it's about keeping their mind clear. It's about giving their mind the food it needs to allow them to focus on their mission.
Mm.
So all of that is brought up in the book. And so it really is about weight and identity and self-acceptance.
Mm.
And when we had the launch, we launched in Singapore, and the lady that came along to speak, beautiful lady, Rachel Oy, she had let her daughter read it. So she's one of the, she gave us a review, and it's in the book. And her daughter had read it, and apparently her daughter said to her, it was just like they were in my head. So things that Karen and I thought were
Yeah.
problems of our generation,
It's
they
right.
aren't. They're
Yeah.
problems of future generations as well, which let's cut it at its feet. Let's leave our generation in our future generations in a much better stead.
Yeah. And you know what? COVID didn't help with weight gain and whatever, but also social media for young people. And
Oh my goodness.
of kids that really struggled as teenagers coming out of COVID with the extra weight gain and then the daunting from social media, like, eating disorders. It's frightening. So,
Mm.
oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about here. But, basically at the end of the day, what are you built for? And there's that saying, I know I've heard so many people saying, I'm not really built for that, and it's like, it might be the hardcore hit training, or it might be, the marathons, like you're saying, or
Yeah.
rock climbing, whatever, and it's
Yeah.
true. It's like the sayings that we say are actually linking to reality underneath. So,
Mm.
Mish, how can people reach out to you, and what have you got going on? You got any courses coming up, or so we've got the book and we've got the stress biohacking. How do the people reach out to you, and what can you offer?
So I think the best way is to get to know me a bit more is to follow me on socials. So I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's Michelle with one L and it's Scherr, Scherr. I also have a program coming up that's starting in September.
Yeah.
So I'll be sharing more on my socials about that and hopefully generating lots of interest. I do only have 10 positions though for that program. There will only be 10 positions. So yeah, it's socials are the best place to follow me. Obviously, I do have a website, michellescherr.com.au. And again, Michelle with one L and Scherr is Scherr.
Is that
And
.com.au? Is that what you said?
yes, .com.au. Yes,
Yeah, like, I think this is the time, it's time to wake up and realize we can't keep doing what we used to be doing. Our bodies can't keep up with it. Stress is the number one thing affecting everybody in the whole entire world. And let's take the stress off our body so that we can live in a more peaceful way. Because at the end of the day, we just want that inner peace and freedom.
we
Everyone.
do.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So Michelle, it's been such a pleasure to have you on Magic Mike. Thank you so much about sharing all of this, because it's when we can listen to stuff and really peel back the layers a little bit more, it makes sense. So it's not just words. Stress biohacking, what does it really mean? And thank you so much for taking the time to share and uncover a lot more education about it all. So brilliant.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me, Sal. I so appreciate it. And I love spending this time with you.
Yeah, and I can't read to, like, don't forget to reach out and look into the book Lighter, because, if that girl could relate and you're in my head, you're probably in the head of a lot of other people like myself. So thanks again, Mish. We'll catch up with you again soon. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Sal.